This single drink flushes 95% of excess sugar overnight. Scientific proof. The pervasive idea that dietary failures are solely due to a lack of willpower is not only inaccurate, but can be detrimental to individuals striving for better health. The reality is that many people struggle with dietary changes not because of what they consume between Monday and Friday, but because of what their body is doing with sugar during the overnight hours, a critical period often overlooked by conventional nutritional advice. During sleep, your liver plays a crucial role in managing blood glucose. It either converts excess glucose into stored fat or efficiently clears it, preparing your metabolism for the upcoming day. The way your liver functions during this time is less about your diet and more about the biological environment established in the hours before bed. This environment can be significantly influenced by a simple, inexpensive drink, backed by clinical research that demonstrably alters how your body handles blood sugar during your overnight fast. This is not about fad diets or meal replacements, but about understanding and supporting a fundamental biological mechanism. The most common thread observed in individuals experiencing metabolic crises is not a lack of knowledge. Many have received standard advice to eat better and exercise more. The true issue often lies in a misunderstanding of when the body is most susceptible to glucose dysregulation and which interventions are most effective at those vulnerable times. Addressing this specific overnight window is key to preventing metabolic disease long before it escalates to a point requiring urgent medical attention. Much of the information circulating about blood sugar and diet fails to acknowledge the significance of this overlooked period. To grasp why this specific drink is effective, it's essential to understand the body's processes during sleep. After your last meal, blood glucose levels rise, prompting the pancreas to release insulin. Healthy conditions involve muscle tissue and the liver absorbing most of this glucose. Muscles act as large sponges for glycogen, stored glucose, and the more metabolically active they are, the more glucose they can absorb. However, once muscles are sufficiently saturated, the liver becomes the primary processor. Unlike muscle tissue, the liver has a less favorable alternative when faced with persistent excess glucose. It converts it into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis, leading to increased liver fat accumulation, insulin resistance, and chronic metabolic dysfunction. A crucial factor is that the liver's function is governed by a circadian clock, a 24-hour biological rhythm. During daylight hours, the liver is geared for active glucose processing. At night, it shifts to a different mode, reducing glucose uptake and increasing glucose production while initiating cellular repair. The problem arises when blood glucose and insulin remain elevated at bedtime due to high refined carbohydrate meals or late-night eating. This forces the liver to continue metabolic processing when its natural programming dictates a wind-down, resulting in inefficient glucose clearance, elevated fasting blood sugar, and progressive insulin resistance over time. Standard dietary changes often fall short because they don't specifically support this critical overnight metabolic environment. The drink in question directly addresses this overnight window, and its supporting research is more robust than commonly perceived. It involves a simple preparation: a warm solution of diluted raw apple cider vinegar and Ceylon cinnamon, consumed about 30 minutes before bed. This is not a proprietary blend or a costly supplement, but two readily available ingredients with independent research supporting their effects on blood glucose. There's a understandable skepticism surrounding ingredients like apple cider vinegar and cinnamon, as they've often been co-opted by the wellness industry and presented as cure-alls, leading to their dismissal. However, the research supporting their benefits is peer-reviewed, mechanistic, and increasingly replicated. The reason these ingredients are often misrepresented is a focus on outcomes without explanation of the underlying mechanisms, which makes them sound like magic. Understanding the physiology reveals their potent effects. The active compound in apple cider vinegar is acetic acid. When consumed, it's absorbed and transported to the liver, where it triggers a remarkable cellular process. Acetic acid is converted to acetate and then to acetyl-CoA, transiently shifting the ratio of AMP to ATP within liver cells. This shift activates AMP-activated protein kinase, AMPK, the body's master metabolic switch. AMPK signals cells to start burning energy rather than storing it. By activating AMPK, it suppresses hepatic glucose production, the liver's release of stored glucose overnight, and enhances glucose uptake in peripheral tissues, improving insulin sensitivity. Landmark research published in Diabetes Care demonstrated that bedtime vinegar intake in patients with type 2 diabetes reduced morning fasting blood glucose levels by an average of 4 to 6% compared to a placebo, attributed to the suppression of hepatic glucose production via the acetate mechanism. This means your liver is less likely to release glucose overnight, leading to lower fasting blood sugar and a better metabolic starting point for the day. Ceylon cinnamon, distinct from the more common and potentially liver-damaging cassia variety due to its high coumarin content, offers complementary benefits. It contains cinnamaldehyde and A-type proanthocyanidins, which interact with insulin signaling at the receptor level. In insulin resistance, these receptors become desensitized. The compounds in Ceylon cinnamon appear to activate insulin receptor kinase, enhancing the downstream signaling cascade even when insulin receptors are partially desensitized. This amplification helps cells import glucose from the bloodstream more effectively. Research in the Annals of Family Medicine and Journal of Medicinal Food has shown that cinnamon supplementation leads to significant reductions in fasting blood glucose and triglycerides, particularly in individuals with prediabetes or early insulin resistance. Essentially, while apple cider vinegar reduces the liver's glucose output, cinnamon improves the body's response to existing insulin, providing a dual intervention from different angles. Furthermore, both apple cider vinegar and Ceylon cinnamon appear to positively influence the gut microbiome, which plays a role in overnight glucose metabolism. Certain gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate and propionate, which directly affect glucose regulation. Butyrate, a preferred fuel for colon cells, also enters systemic circulation, activating receptors that stimulate incretin hormone release and enhance insulin sensitivity. Acetate from apple cider vinegar can promote beneficial bacterial populations, including Akkermansia mucinifera, a bacterium linked to better metabolic health. Cinnamon. Polyphenols have also been shown to increase microbial diversity and favor butyrate-producing species. This means regular use of this drink may gradually shift the gut environment to improve overnight glucose regulation over time, offering a long-term benefit beyond acute effects. Preparing this drink requires attention to detail. Use warm, not hot, water to preserve the beneficial components of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. A standard mug is appropriate. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Exceeding this dose offers no additional documented benefit and can cause esophageal irritation and dental enamel erosion. Always dilute the vinegar. Never consume it undiluted. Using a straw can protect tooth enamel. Add half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia, due to coumarin concerns. A squeeze of lemon juice can be added for flavor and vitamin C, but avoid any sweeteners, as they would counteract the drink's purpose. Consume this drink about 30 minutes before bed, allowing its peak effect to coincide with the body's natural wind-down. Individuals with gastroparesis, peptic ulcers, or chronic acid reflux should consult a healthcare provider before regular use. Those on blood glucose-lowering medications should also discuss this drink with their physician, as it may potentiate their effects. It's important to manage expectations. One drink will not dramatically alter blood glucose overnight. The research indicates a modest, measurable reduction in fasting morning glucose on the nights the drink is consumed, typically a 4–6% shift. The significant benefits accrue over weeks and months through cumulative processes: improved insulin receptor sensitivity, consistent hepatic glucose suppression, and gradual shifts in gut microbiome composition. These gradual changes over time lead to perceptible improvements in energy levels, morning glucose readings, and appetite regulation, usually noticeable within 2 to 4 weeks of consistent use. From a longevity perspective, interventions that incrementally improve the overnight metabolic environment are precisely the types of low-cost, low-risk habits that correlate with better long-term health outcomes. A crucial factor that negates the benefits of this drink is consuming refined carbohydrates or sugary foods in the 30–60 minutes before drinking it. The drink works best when blood glucose is declining and the body is entering its fasting state. A late-night snack of biscuits, dessert, or toast will overwhelm the liver's capacity to manage glucose effectively. The ideal sequence is to have your last food 2 to 3 hours before bed and then consume the drink 30 minutes before retiring. Inconsistency in use is another common mistake. The gut microbiome benefits, in particular, require regular stimulation to achieve the desired gradual shifts in bacterial populations and improve insulin sensitivity. The fundamental idea is that the hours between stopping eating and waking up are metabolically active. The liver continues to produce glucose, and insulin signaling is either functioning well or not. The cumulative consequences of an impaired overnight metabolic window, occurring subtly over years, are the very metabolic diseases observed in emergency departments. This drink is not a miracle cure or a substitute for a balanced diet, exercise, and maintaining muscle mass. Instead, it is a scientifically coherent, low-cost, and low-risk tool that targets a specific and often ignored physiological window. The mechanisms are supported by peer-reviewed research, and the barrier to trying it is minimal. The key takeaway is that metabolism operates around the clock, and the decisions made during the overnight fasting period have a quiet yet significant impact on long-term health. The question is whether you provide your body with what it needs during this critical time to function optimally.